علم في رأسه نار يا أخي.
Thank you. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I would like to welcome everyone to this workshop today. And to be honest with you, this is maybe my 12th year giving workshops and training around these areas and these subjects. I have always felt a heavy responsibility whenever I'm invited to present a workshop, though I'm supposed to be more experienced, but actually talking to an elite and class audience like yours would always be something to be concerned about. But this time actually it's even more, I felt even more responsible because I believe over the last year, these issues we're discussing in these workshops have gone through a spike where everybody, have gone through his own experience and experiments and challenges, and he worked out solutions to the issues he's facing. So I think last year was very rich for all of us regarding these issues of online and all issues related to online. Actually, only last week, there was a very rich sharing session, experience sharing session for maybe 8 or 10 of our colleagues who presented very interesting ideas about their own way of running classes and office hours and assessments and so on. While we're talking this morning, I think there was, I just read an announcement from the physics departments about also sharing experiences about online. So I believe everybody today is ahead compared to last year in those issues, and his awareness and practice and experience, which really makes it a challenge now to add something to what you already know. But I am one of you, among you, so I think these experiences should add to the workshop. So please, I welcome any useful addition when it's related to anything I'm presenting. So just feel free to add something that is related and enhances what I am presenting, inshallah, today. So this workshop is about enhancement and management of online class participation. I hope we'll finish by 3:15, so by that we can catch the prayer in Jama'ah for those who will do that. We'll try, inshallah, to manage the time accordingly.
Dr.
Okay.
Yes. The people are having a hard time to log in.
Okay, then using a mobile, which is usually for entertainment and fun and other things. PCs and laptops are for more serious work. In addition, of course, to the bigger pictures and ease of access of many things. So I would always ask my students to join from their PC and laptop if possible. And if you want to ask or talk to me during the class, please raise your hand. I pay attention to this. Do not write to me on chat because I really don't focus on chat when I start lecturing. When I'm engaged in what I'm presenting, I don't like to be scattered with reading what others do. So if you have something, please just raise your hand and I can easily see the hands and answer you, inshallah. Yes, Mr. Husni, you are checking on me, right?
No, I'm raising my hand. Assalamu alaikum.
Go ahead.
Actually, I tried this, but we might have some problem in the network itself. For example, I'm in my office now and I receive a message, your network is not stable. So opening the videos might cause this problem. So please just be easy with us. I mean, if we switch it off, if we receive this message.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if you feel so, yes, please. If you feel it is slowing it down from your side, you can switch it off. Okay. Now, one last thing, I assume everybody is ready to participate verbally when he is invited to. It's my habit to call people by name and ask them to discuss something with us. I hope everybody is ready for this. In case you cannot participate, you just want to be a listener, I love to know so early so that I don't embarrass myself and yourself by asking you by name. Now, how to do this? I think the easiest way with Zoom, it's very easy to change your name in Zoom during the class. You can just right click on next to your name and just put -L next to your name. So when I see that you'd like to be a listener only, I wouldn't ask you any question. So other than this, I would assume everybody without an L at the beginning, unless it's part of his name, that he is ready for verbal discussion. Okay, so this is an example. For example, somebody already put -L, which shows that this is very convenient, very possible. Thank you, Dr. Abdul Ilah. It's a very nice illustration. I understand that some people may not in a position to participate verbally, so this is very well understood. Thank you, excellent. Okay, so with this said, I think we are in a position to start. Now we are all overwhelmed by those learning outcomes, so why not an learning outcome for this workshop? Yeah, so I would like to put one learning outcome that we'll measure at the end of these 2 hours or less. My learning outcome I'm suggest to put for this workshop is that every participant finds at least one thing to take with him for his next class. I know it's challenging. This is why I will be careful in the percentage I put for a passing grade for this outcome. Looking at the experienced audience here, I will be very successful if I can hit a target of 60%. So if the 60% of the attendees at the end of the class said that they find one thing to take from this class, I am in a pass. I am pass, yes, Sayyid. Okay?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. So I hope these few minutes are enough to start, yeah, Sayyid, for those who were not who were joining late. Okay. Okay. Now I actually instead of preparing for this workshop, I made 2 assumptions looking at the title. The title is, Enhancement of Management and Participation of Online Classes. So I thought, well, I'm making then here 2 assumptions that I will start from in preparing my workshop. The first assumption is that we already have our ways and techniques to enhance and manage participation in face-to-face classes, okay? And but when we came to online, we find that these ways or techniques are either not adequate or not suitable for online classes. So under those 2 assumptions that we already have something that we were comfortable with and we're efficient enough in face-to-face classes, but now with a new environment, there are new challenges. So what can we do? So I have started building the material around these 2 assumptions. Now I can see some people are trying to write something on the chat. So as I said, I will not be able to look at the chat. So please summarize if something important you can let me know. Okay. So let me see if you agree with these 2 assumptions or not. You have on the icons in Zoom, you have yes and no. Can you tell me if you agree with both assumptions, just put a yes, it's a tick. If you disagree with either, just say no. I'm assuming that we already have our techniques in face-to-face, but online has more challenges. Okay, so by the way, the sign only stays for 5 seconds. So I can see those who already ticked yes. So, okay, excellent. So far, no no's. So everybody agrees with these 2 assumptions. Okay. By the way, this is something you can do in your online classes from time to time, ask people to tick these things so that you are sure they are still following. Okay. So, based on that, I put 3 questions to answer in this workshop. What are the best practiced ways, techniques to engage students in face-to-face classes, which you are used to? So let's quickly go over them, very quickly. And then why these things we think are not really very appropriate and suitable for the online classes? What are the challenges for using them in online classes? And can we go around it? Is there a way to mitigate those challenges? so that we make those same techniques suitable for online classes. But one third very important question to ask is online classes offering us new opportunities for participation and engagement that are even do not exist in face-to-face classes? So maybe this will be a rich pool, you know, to look at also. So let's see if we can modify what we have and maybe, you know, create something new. So saying so, I would say that the engagement techniques of online classes, part of them would be same as face-to-face classes. They will work fine. Some of them would be slightly to be modified and customized, you know, to suit the online classes. But maybe, you know, you can have new techniques that, you know, come from the online environment. Okay. So are we okay so far? Yes. Let me see. MashaAllah. Let me see the full list of audience. Okay. Good. Okay, now please, I will be using this link a few times in my workshop. So let me copy it for you on the chat. And please, to access this, this is a form on Microsoft. So you need to log in with your KFUPM credentials, your account. So let me, okay, put it for everybody here. So I'll give you please just a few seconds to make sure that you are at the page. So please, to log into this one, you need to log in with your KFUPM account. Okay, I'll be going to ask you a few questions now. And I would kindly ask you to send those questions on the link, so that really I get the response of almost everyone, and then we can discuss them. So is now the link okay? Okay, mashallah, I can see few yeses. Okay, you got used to yeses already. And luckily no no's. Okay, let me see. No no's. Okay, so I will assume everybody is there now. So if you allow me to ask you the first question, please. What are your ways or techniques to engage students in face-to-face classes? 1 to 3 would be enough. And very briefly, please. What are your, okay? Don't tell me something general everybody can use. What are you using to engage students in face-to-face classes? Okay. And I received 9 responses so far.
Doctor, the link is not working. I don't know, like it's not moving anywhere.
The link?
Yes, like I'm trying to, like we are going to type this in the form, or we are just typing it here?
Just click, if you click on the link, where do you go?
Okay, doctor, I will
just
do it.
Click on the link. Okay, click on the link. It should take you to
the participation online, and it says like you want to see your name and an email. So I already have done this. So I wanted to answer this question, but like to answer this question, I have to do it in the form or on the message.
Yes. I mean, just take you to the form. You'll find only one space where you can submit your answer.
But like doctor, it is not moving.
Dr. Maan,
yes.
You need to write your answer and submit.
Yes.
So there is no, you will not see a form where the question you see it in the slide. Then you put your answer, submit.
Yes.
Something like this.
Yes. The answers, the questions are on the slide. The one there is only just submit the answer.
Okay, doctor.
Thank you, Khalid, for the help. Okay, so I think we had, mashallah, good responses. I'll give another 20 seconds. Okay. Now, let's share some of the responses we have. Okay. Okay. Polling, asking questions, move around the class, asking questions that appear almost in every answer. Think, pair, share is mentioned a few times. Pop quizzes, quick polls, small quizzes, and okay, great. So it goes around, quizzes, think, pair, share, asking questions, open room for comments on answers, group discussion. Okay, yes, so these are some of the techniques we used for face-to-face classes. I expected that, questions will be one of them, because definitely we use questions to engage students. But let me ask you a question on this. And I will actually start a poll now, if you don't mind. And let me see. Why I'm not able to see the poll. Say, Sanaullah.
If you allow me, I can start the poll for you.
Okay, please. Can you start the first one?
Okay. The poll is up.
Please. Just okay, I'll give you 5 more seconds.
I'm not seeing it.
If you don't see it, it is, I think there is some icon you have to, Sanaullah, if it's not seen.
No, Victor, the poll is seen, and I can see.
There's like a green icon somewhere if you don't see it hidden or. Okay.
No, it just pops up. I mean, almost 66% of participants have responded. Maybe you can give another couple of seconds.
Yeah, it's appeared to me already.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Okay. Can you end it, please, Sanallah, and show us the results?
And share the results.
Okay. So, great. 80% of us do prepare their questions before they go to class. And, 20% do not. Now, let me tell you, honestly, this is not a good exam question because, the question itself can hint to what should be the right answer. But anyhow, what is important here is the message. The message here is if you really want to engage students, it's not any question is engaging. Questions that are engaging, questions that will create discussion, questions that are, useful for this purpose need to be prepared. Those questions who come spontaneous, as you go on, are, just checking on an information or something which they will not create enough engagement. So anything that you need really to create engagement has to be prepared. And this is one thing I learned, and I always do. I always have the set of my notes. Where are the positions of that class where I'm going to ask questions, and what are these questions? So I know already before I go to class that there are 3 main concepts here, and I need to create some discussion around these concepts. So what would be the right question to ask for each of the concepts? I prepare my questions before I go to class. As you see, for example, if I wasn't preparing this question to you, it wouldn't really create all of this discussion. It cannot come spontaneous. So one thing is, we should do in face-to-face or online, prepare the questions you want to ask. Okay, now saying so, can you go to the second poll, please?
Yes, sure.
No, hold on, please. Hold on. Sanallah.
Yeah, sure. Shall I? Okay,
No, don't launch it yet. Okay. Okay, now let me go back. You still see my screen. Now, if you go back to the link again, another submission, okay, before we do the second question, if you go to the link again, so submit another answer, and please attempt to answer this question now. Can you think of one question to ask to your students on the material of next class? Knowing that now we have to prepare our questions, can you think of a good question to ask to students next time? Please don't try to explain what is the issue is about and so on. Go ahead and ask the question. Assume we know everything. We are your students already. Don't worry about us understanding what the question is about.
Should we answer in the form?
Yes, in the form, just state the question, please. In the form, please just state the question. I know you are seeing what I'm doing. Okay, because I want you also to see your responses. Do you all feel that the network of the university is slow? Or?
Yes,
Yes.
We know it without.
You see, we are only on, yani,
especially at KFUPM in the university.
Sorry, was what?
And here at the university. And in our office.
From home, it is much faster, I mean, for me at least, than the office. It's much faster than the office.
Well, you see, I think there's something wrong. It did not even start there so far. Strange. Okay, now. So let me look at some of the questions you have submitted. In fact, I don't even see that yet, our form. Yes, it's not coming yet. Too slow. Yes, this one. Okay. But it has never been that slow, actually.
I think the ICTC is having problems. Allah might know that, you know.
I can just quickly check. Let's see. Just give me a second.
Okay.
Loud than a suggestion, Dr. Maan, if you could please maybe close some of the open windows. Maybe it's a local issue on your PC.
Yes. Let's look at responses. Some of your questions you have submitted. Okay.
Dr. Maan, my suggestion is to turn the video off for a couple of minutes just to see if
Okay, turn the videos. I'll turn my video also off. Okay, let's see if this will help. Okay,
All videos.
all videos. Okay, so now let's look at some of your questions. You've stated Okay. How to represent software process. So let's go. Okay, here you can see all the questions here. Okay. So what do you think? What do you think we will study tomorrow? That's a question. What are batch reactors? What is the connection between the definite and the indefinite integral? Okay, and so on. Why does, what could be, how to do, what would be an irreversible process? What will be the output of this? What did you understand? What do you think? And so on. Now you can see actually, if you look at these questions, okay, that some of them are checking on some information. It's really on the memory level, okay, whether they know something or not. Okay, for example, what are batch reactors? Okay, so for example, I would never really be able, if I'm not part of this class, I would never be knowing this. And if I had not attended that class, then that question really does not help me to think at all. But but some questions are really why do you think that sustainable rating is important? Okay, so what I wanted to say from here is those questions we ask check on different levels of cognitive thinking. Are you checking only on what they know, or checking on the comprehension of what they know, or checking on if they can apply what they know, or they can criticize and compare it to something else, and so on. So you have different or many levels of cognitive thinking. Sanala, if you can start the second poll now, please.
Okay, sure.
Okay, can you please go ahead and answer this one?
Where can I see the poll there? The second one I'm losing.
It should pop up automatically as a new window.
If it is not doing that,
I think there is some green icon somewhere. It says poll or something. Just look for something to hit on the screen.
I'm not seeing it also here.
Just minimize zoom and maximize it. Sometimes it comes up.
We already have most of the class. Okay, thank you. So I think the idea again is clear. The message is clear. You need to prepare your questions, and where we prepare our questions, well, again, we're talking about engagement here, then we should pay attention to a level of cognitive thinking we are designing the question for, okay? So now, as you see, Sanala is sharing the results with us. Yes, most of us do think about what are they checking, but some really, I really appreciate and respect their honesty that they never thought of it. So I think this is something worth considering, just when you put your question after that, think is what I'm checking exactly, something, whether they know it or not, or whether they understand it or not, or whether they can criticize it, analyze it, synthesize it, and so on. Okay, thank you, Sanallah. We can close the poll now. So, as you see, asking questions is a very straightforward technique we all use to engage students, but it requires little, a little more attention of preparation and of relating it to the cognitive thinking. Okay. And by the way, this is just a snapshot of what I mean by cognitive thinking. Are you checking on which level you are checking on? And each level has its own verbs for the question. Okay. Now, why we really encourage questions to be on the high order thinking, not on the knowledge level, but either comprehension or above, because higher order thinking questions, are more stimulating, and everybody can participate. When you say, can you compare, or how is that different from this? Even those who know very little can still think. But when you are asking about something that's really on an information, then I either know it or I don't know it. There is no room for me to think about it. So, but asking something like compare, differentiate, what if this happens, those with little background can still, participate. I hope you agree with this concept. Do you agree with this concept?
I don't.
You don't?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead. Why you don't?
Okay. To let our students to just engaged in the thing, actually, the right thing, one of the things that might be right is to ask a question related to the material on the slide itself. That is the slide in front of him, and ask him, what is this? What this? If you just concentrate on the other one, you are looking for the people who want to just think, and only part of the students who want to put, I mean, enough more effort to think and compare. You, to encourage engagement, you give them something that they can answer if they are following. And you want to encourage engagement, so let them follow. So give them a question that either they saw it in the previous slide, which is one line, or in the current slide even help them, just let them participate. Even you can ask some of them that read the first line or the first bullet or explain the first.
Mr. Husni, we are not really, let's be clear here, we are not looking for participation for the sake of participation, right?
For
because otherwise I could ask everybody to tell me a joke and they will all participate. We are asking for participation for the sake of learning. So I want them to participate in a useful exercise, not just for the sake of you know, I said, read this line and then consider, look, all my students are participating. You read the first line, you read the second line, and you see they are all here. This is not the point. I want them to participate in something that it serves the purpose.
So the purpose is what?
The purpose is learning. Let's look at the questions. Hussein, Mr. Husni, let's look at questions of our colleagues. Okay, let me go back and take one of those questions. Okay, where it was in this Excel sheet. Yes, look at this question okay, that's something like I say, okay, why does not linear differential equations have singular solutions? You know, this is something, it's not about, you know, really direct remembering, you know, why do we need second law of thermodynamics? You know, it's something that everybody who knows something about the law of thermodynamics can think. You know, you can say, okay, maybe to calculate the total energy. You know, I don't even know anything about it, but so those questions will check on other things would let everybody think, and we want them to think, participate towards the purpose of the class, which is learning, not only to, you know, to talk. Thank you for the Husni, very, very, really useful comment. Okay, so let's go back to, please don't chat me unless Allah will tell me there is something important in the chat.
I have a comment, Dr. Maan.
Yes, go ahead.
But there is other dimension to allow students, to encourage students, that you make the class inducive for participation. This had the psychological issue that students should be comfortable to answer. Otherwise, they will not participate. They keep silent. So how do we make the student want to engage? By looking at the other dimension of making them, encouraging the questions through making them comfortable, making them not fear that their questions will be looked at down, things like this. That's another dimension.
You're right. And actually one of the things that helps in that dimension, Dr. Saleh, is the type of feedback you give to the participation.
Exactly, yes.
That really could really make a big difference. You know, you really let them feel that what he said, whether it's right or wrong, is appreciated.
Yes. How to do that?
Well, you do this with many things. One is you give strong praising feedback, not necessarily praising the answer if it's not right, but praising the participation, praising the direction of thinking and so on. You try to customize it to him. Don't say just thank you, or excellent, because this means you really, you know, treating everybody equally. No, you can't say you try to include in your feedback something that lets him know that this is for you only. I'm customizing my feedback. For example, something like, I'm glad that you made this difference. He feels that this is made for him. And last thing, if you really can, from time to time, build on student feedback, on their responses. If you can say, as Mr. Husni Dr. Husni recently mentioned, that it's important to engage students, so on. So when student feels that you really even use their words as part of the learning process, they will really be very much encouraged and motivated to participate every time.
And also, Dr. Maan, I think
go ahead.
If the answer of the question, high cognitive level questions, if you answer it, and then somebody answer it, or if you discuss it, and then you really tell them how important is those, high cognitive level questions, and how they're important for their enhancing their learning. A student always will love that, because they will see another dimension. It's not something just, you go with them easy and you encourage them. No, I think the answer itself and the way you present the answer, the way you present how the important you look at such, question at high cognitive levels, how they enhance your learning and how they are important for, for your learning.
You're right. Okay, great. So I have a question here, but I think before the question, I need to really start. I don't know, I lost the screen for Zoom. So let me do something. I don't know what to do. I'll stop sharing for a minute. So I see your faces, okay. And now I will start sharing again. I feel like Teams is more friendly. I don't know. Okay. I don't know.
We see there's a slide here, reflect on raise and hand.
Yes, I can see this, but I want to see your names. I'm not able to see it. Okay, let me do it from here.
Go to view hub and right side by side speaker or gallery.
Okay. Now I have a question here. I would like really to give you something like 30 seconds to reflect on it. And please, when you have an answer, just raise your hand. There's a raise hand in the Zoom. Please raise your hand. The question is, considering the online classes experience we have so far, when inshallah soon we'll go back to face-to-face classes, hopefully soon, what is the thing that you will do differently or extra in your face-to-face classes compared to the pre-COVID-19 era? Take 30 seconds to think of this question, please. And when you are ready, just raise your hand. One hand so far. Two. Are the others considering the question?
Your slide is covering the hand. I don't see where is my hand. Where is it?
Okay, so Dr. Saleh is 3.
Okay.
Are others seeing the hand? You know how to raise hands? Okay, 4.
Maybe up here.
5. But it's still considering the question. We have 40 participants or so. Okay, 6. Seems it's a tough question. So you see, we learned something now from online. Do you see anything to take back to your face-to-face classes later? Even your answer is no, just, raise your hand that you have an answer. It's no. Okay. So now I have something like, 8 to 10 participants, which I still consider is really, okay, now more hands are coming. Okay.
But if you give time, more hands will come.
Okay. And actually, this is the point. Okay. This is the point. So thank you. I can see now your. So the point here, colleagues, is usually when you ask a question, very few are ready to answer or have something to share. But if you allow more time, definitely more people will come and will have, something to participate with. I try to, show this, as in an engineering way. So I think it works something like this. If you look at the number of respondents with time, then the more time you wait, you get more and more. Well, you may not get all the class for many reasons, but definitely you'll get more questions, more responses. My point here is we're talking about engagement here, right? We, most of the time, what I noticed from myself and other colleagues, we most of the time when I ask a question, take the first ready answer, the first 1 or 2 ready answers, okay? Very rarely that we really give time so others can formulate their own answers. And so it's very important if you want to really have questions, use questions as a very engaging tool to allow some response time. Okay, now it depends on how difficult or tough is the question, but if you allow, 5, 10, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, it depends on the question again, then definitely you get more responses. So in summary, I would say questions are a very useful technique, but they can be even better if we prepare them, if we pay attention to the level of cognitive thinking we are using, and if we allow some participation time or some time for students to think. Now, let's go back to this question again. Considering the online experience we have, are we going to take anything back to our face-to-face classes? Now, everybody have thought about this question now for a while. Mr. Sanaullah, can you please break the audience in pairs? And I would like every pair, please, to share their answers to this question for 2 minutes. So for 2, or let's say 3 minutes, for 3 minutes, please, when you go into pairs, if each one of you can share his views about this question with his pair, and then we'll come back to you. Are you ready, Sanaullah?
Again, sorry.
Can you please make all the audience in pairs of 2?
We'll have enough room for us?
Yes.
There are about 44 participants. Shall I make it a group of 2 each?
Yeah, group of two, which means we'll have like something 20.
22 rooms.
22 groups. Okay.
Yeah, so
how
please,
much
but now each group what they will do. So each group, please, this question you have now.
Sure.
Consider, you share your discussion, you share your views about this question with your colleague, and you have 3 minutes, and then we'll come back to it.
Dr. Maan, I was wondering about that curve. It starts convex, then it becomes concave.
Okay, and is there any questions on the chat before we chat?
Okay, I'm just joking.
Okay.
You have to say you're joking. from your son.
Okay. Okay, we'll start the 3 minutes now. It's in Allah, please.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Because of the number of participants, some of the rooms might have more than 2 participants, which is, I think, okay.
Okay, so you are getting people right?
Everyone should be back in a couple of seconds.
Yes, yes. Okay.
We were in the middle of discussion actually, and you cut on us. So, but it's okay.
I hope good.
Yeah, my partner talked and I didn't talk, but it's okay.
Yeah, but it should have it was already said that it's 3 minutes, so maybe we should have shared the time. Okay.
This is 3 seconds, Doctor.
Okay, Dr. Mujahid.
Okay.
It is 3.5 seconds.
Okay.
Next
so actually,
meeting,
what we have done now, is another thing that can, enhance and motivate engagement. Sometimes when you ask questions, you can right away go and pick some answers after you give some response time for students to think, and then you can call people by name and let them say what they have. And other times you may, even before you do this, as we did here, it only takes something like 3 to 4 minutes so that people can go and pair and discuss what they have, come to us, and then we'll discuss it at large. So let me tell you quickly, what are we really getting from pairing, So now, when you put a question, you give them time to think, and then you let them pair before you share their answers with the audience. What do you think we are getting from pairing? What do you think, Dr. Amir? What are you getting from, sorry, not Dr. Amir is a listener. So let's talk to Dr. Haytham. What do you think, Dr. Haytham, are getting from pairing? Dr. Haytham? Okay, Dr. Osama Ahmed, what are you getting from pairing, you think? Dr. Osama is here? Okay. Dr. Mujahid, what do you think you are getting from pairing?
I think we can get from pairing, maybe the students can share their answers and enhance their understanding. Maybe sometimes students can understand from each other easier than understanding concepts from the instructor himself. Maybe this is one of the points.
Thank you. Dr. Ahmed Mahdi.
I do agree with Dr. Mujahid. It is about, they feel more free to discuss these issues, and of course, to get the idea of the another person from another perspective view.
So get another view. Okay. Dr. Khurram, what do you think, Dr. Khurram Karim? What do you think you are getting from pairing?
I think, with pairing, the students could, discuss the topic in detail and reflect on their understanding with the fellow students.
Thank you. Mr. Robin, Dr. Robin, what do you think are, sorry, he's a learner. So, Wasfi, what do you think you are getting from pairing?
Yes, doctor, I think the student come into their they are very comfortable with their colleagues, so they can discuss even their misconception. They are not afraid of answering if their answer is wrong. So this is, I think, the one thing. And secondly, I think they can get along with each other much easier than the other people, especially the instructor.
And you see one thing here, in the last 4 minutes or 3 minutes, everybody was engaged, right? All students were engaged. So with these 3 minutes, okay, engage with the full class, but engage with his colleagues. It's a kind of engagement. We are looking after engagement, used for engagement. So it engaged everybody. So students have a chance to check his answer with his colleagues before going to the class. He can, as you mentioned, refine his own thinking. He can learn something from his peer. He probably can assess his own understanding, which is very important. Sometimes students don't know, are they behind? Is it difficult? Is it tough or what? So when he discusses with his colleagues, he can find out, where is his position compared to the rest of the class. And it's really a non-threatening environment. He does all of this in a very comfortable environment. It's only his colleague. There is nothing embarrassing. He can say anything he like in the the language he's convenient with and so on. Okay, and that gives him more confidence when it comes to sharing, because his answer has been checked, has been verified, has been discussed, before coming to the public. And in fact, it's an opportunity for him even to rehearse how he's going to present his idea in case he is invited in the class to talk. So really, these few minutes of pairing are very useful for engagement and for the whole process. So this is something we can consider in some questions. Actually in Zoom and even in Microsoft Teams, this is very straightforward. One of the very easy thing to do is to put people in groups. Okay, very easy, very straightforward. Okay.
Dr. Maan, do you please share the slides? We don't see the slides.
You don't see my slides. Okay, thank you. So, share screen. Thank you for telling me this. So I was discussing, I was listing some of the things we are learning or getting from pairing. So as you see, a few minutes really can get you a lot of useful stuff. Okay. Now, and by the way, it's not only the pairing that was useful. The whole process built this way is useful. It's important to start with think individually before you pair, because if you don't give them time to think individually and they go right to pairing, it will waste time. They are not prepared to start immediately. 3 minutes would not do anything because, they still have nothing to say. And probably they'll start by saying, how are you today? And what do you think? So what was the question exactly? So, what does he mean? A lot of time will be wasted if they are not prepared. Let them start thinking themselves of the question before you pair them. So when you pair them, they can immediately start. Okay. So the thinking will prepare for a useful pairing phase later on. Okay. So, so it's useful to think first and then pair. Okay. And you've seen the advantages of pairing. And then you, of course, go and share. Of course, you need to share, because if you don't share, then the whole exercise, would not be taken seriously next time if you are going to leave it here without follow-up. So doing it in this sequence, think, pair, and share really adds a value. Okay, now, one of the techniques I'm not going to spend much time on, is a jigsaw technique, which really is very bulky to do in face-to-face, but very convenient to do online. A jigsaw technique, for those of you who hear about it for the first time, is cooperative by design. It's a team-based learning where every student learns with his peers for a phase, for a time, and then he acts as a teacher for the second part of the exercise. Okay, so it enforces everybody to get very heavily involved. Everyone gets very much engaged by design, by design of this technique. Okay, let me illustrate it. Let's say that you would like to have a problem session and you would like to solve 4 problems in that class. Okay, now the classical traditional way is for me to go and solve the problems. Students will, and I get student engaged when I'm solving. For example, while I'm solving the question, I may ask this guy, so what's the next step? What do you think? And so on. So I could have really an interactive session while I'm solving problems. But another way to do it is to divide. Let's say you have 4 problems, and let's say you have 16 students, just for the sake of an example. So you will or let's say 20 students, you make your students in groups of 5. So you have 4 groups of 5, and every group of 5 is given the problem, and then you let them go in breakout rooms, as we did now. So now 5 will go together and work out on the problem. The other 5 are working on a different problem, and 3rd problem, and fourth problem. So then they will take their time. Let's say you estimated 10 minutes or 15 minutes for this problem to be solved. Okay, you allow them that time so that they go and work together. Now, during this time, you could be visiting the various rooms, and just listen to what's going on. And if, there's a need for little help, you can go and help them, but mainly to watch and witness what's going on. Now, once this is done, so they learn together how to solve the problem. Once this is done, you now restructure the groups column-wise, meaning that you take a student from every problem, okay? So these 4 students now will be a new group. These 4 students will be another group. And so now we'll have 5 groups, and these will be teaching groups, which means that the student here who was involved in problem 1 will act as the teacher to explain problem 1 and the solution to the rest of the class, the rest of his small class of 4. And once he's done, then the turn of the second student to explain the problem he did with his colleagues to the rest of his small class. And these things are taking place in parallel in 5 different rooms. So you see the student at the first part was a student learning with his colleagues. In the second part, he is the teacher explaining to his colleagues. Knowing that he will be the teacher in the next phase will make him very serious in the first phase, that he knows the answer and he knows how to solve the problem. So at least he can tell the solution, to the rest. Okay, actually this is we need more time to explain this technique. Sometimes you have a full workshop on this, but I just want to give you an idea of a technique that is also could be very useful, not only for problem sessions, but very convenient for problem sessions. But if you have 1 or 2 quick questions on this, I can take them. Okay. Yes, Wasfi, go ahead, please.
If you give them like 15 minutes to solve the question for each group horizontally. Now vertically, what is the expected time for each leader, to teach his other teammates? How much time do you give?
Yeah, of course, as you see, teaching, telling the solution, teaching is basically to explain the solution, will take much less time than solving the problem. So I would say, let's say it's a solution is, like something like 5 to 10 lines, okay, of math or whatever. So I would say, each student will probably need 2 minutes, 3 minutes. So if there are 4 of them, that's another 15 minutes for the second phase. Of course, this exercise will take the full class, So half of the class will go for solving the problem in groups. The other half will be to explain the solution to others. Dr. Husni?
Do you have a procedure to make the second part in teams? That after, for example, randomly, I split the class into 5 students per group. Then I want later to split them not randomly, the vertical thing. Is there a way? Not manual.
Yeah. Actually, there are a few details that are worth discussing here. Maybe briefly I can mention them. One of them, yes, when you go in both ways, actually, especially in the learning phase, I would try to make sure that in each group in the learning phase, there is an A student, somebody who really can lead and, can take them out of the, he can solve the problem. So I don't mind even if one solves the problem in the first one, but because he needs to teach them, because they need to go and teach others. So I make sure in the learning phase, which is the more crucial part, that there is at least 1 A student in each group. Other thing that sometimes I do, maybe at the end of phase 1, before they go to phase 2, I give them the solution. After they have tried, I said, okay, this is the model solution. I have solved it. Compare it to what you have, and please take 1 minute or so to fix if you have any mistakes before you go and explain to others. Okay? So this is something you could also do just to make sure that they have the right answer and they have procedure. And by the way, in those breakout rooms, there is a button that students can call the instructor. So if they are stuck and it doesn't happen that you are with them, they can call you. You can come quickly and say, okay, what's your problem? And you can give them a hint. Okay. Remember, it's not a quiz, it's not a test, so I don't enforce them to solve it by themselves. I don't mind to give them hints. My goal here is by the end of the 15 minutes, they know how to solve it. Wasfi, your hand is up from the first time or a second question?
No, from the first time. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. Now, so that was a jigsaw, something to consider. Now, next is what else for engagements? Okay, I'm sure all of you by now have heard the technique which is flipped classroom. Flipped classroom. Okay, in a nutshell, what is flipped classroom? You know, we have a class time. We have a class time which is shown in this as a square here, as this slot, this area. This is our class time. The classical way is use class time to present the material and give students exercises and homeworks to do later on. Then we can grade those homeworks and so on and assess them. That's the classical way. That's the normal class. That's the unflipped class. You know, the lecture is done during the class. Lecturing is done during the class with, you know, all engagement techniques, questions, and so on and so on. And assignments and exercises and applications are done later on as a homework or, you know, case study or whatever. Okay. The flipped classroom concept is, okay, what if we flip the situation? What if we use the class time for doing activities, for solving homework problems, for having further discussions? Okay, then what would happen to the material? When would the material be covered? Well, the material would be covered before class in the form of a recording, okay, of the instructor. So he would record his lecture and make it available to students before class so that the class time is used for activities, not for explaining the material for the first time. That's the concept of the flipped classroom. Now, there's a big debate whether this works or not, and is this better than the classical way? Okay, we are not here to debate it. We're just here to present the technique, and it's for you to consider. Personally, I think it is perfect. And online, online forced us to do it, actually, some of us to do it this way, or it was really a good opportunity to do it this way, and it works. I have tried it, and it's working very fine. And I don't necessarily flip all the course, but I flip some of the lectures, the important lectures, where really I would like to do more of the discussions so that students will absorb the concepts. I would like to do more good exercises, good problems with them. I flip those classrooms. When it's classical, I mean, the material is really just definitions and proofs and this, I don't need to flip it. But when I really want to test something, or I want to do activities and I want to go to further discussions, I will give myself more time in class to do activities. The only way I can do this is to do the recording, let them do it beforehand, and let's use the class for activities. Now, I understand there are a lot of obstacles when it comes to implementing flipped classrooms. But for the time being, if you please can, you know, put aside your thinking about the obstacles. Can you think of wins of this technique? Forget about obstacles for a while, we'll come to them. Can you see anything we're winning by doing so? Yes, please. Are we winning anything from filming the classroom? And what is it? What do you think, Dr. Wasif Farouk, if you are with us?
Yes, sir, Doctor, I am with you. Can you repeat the question, please?
The question is, do you really see you are getting anything from this flip business?
Ah, okay, Doctor, I tried once.
I let them watch. Yes, go ahead.
I tried once based on your motivation in one of your lecture, and the problem was the majority of the students, they didn't listen to the video.
Okay.
And that was one of the main reasons.
Okay, but let me tell you, my question was, forget about obstacle. Let's say you have solved it. Let's say they all have watched the videos, okay? It was ideal, you know, it was implemented in an ideal way. Do you see an advantage of flipping the classroom?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Dr. Maan?
Yeah, let's just wait for Dr. Farouk. Yes, go ahead, please, and then come to you, Dr.
Yes, definitely. If for example, there were few students who listened to the video, and I feel it's worked very well.
Okay. Yes, Dr. Hushani.
If there is no systematic way in implementing the flipped classroom, I think we can go nowhere. I applied maybe 2 consecutive semesters in my freshman chemistry course, where students need to finish an online quiz before the lecture. So whatever recorded is there, they need to do the quiz after the recording, where the quiz question only focus on the main concept and big idea. So they don't need to do intensive study to solve the quiz. So once they watch the video, they will be able to do the quiz. So the quiz basically, and the quiz has to be within the class. It has a weight in the total grading of the course. Then after that, the most benefit I can see it from this one is to have I did this in face-to-face, not with the online format.
Okay.
Where the class time is being utilized more efficiently from all students, where they work in group and solve problem.
Okay. Yes, Dr. Ahmed, you had to say something, Dr. Ahmed Salim?
Yeah, assalamu alaikum.
Yes.
I feel the student will be responsible. He will feel responsible for his learning, and he will take responsibility. He's not just passive learners. He will just relax and receive whatever information. No, now he's doing an active part in the learning process.
Thank you. Dr. Adeniran.
Yes, thank you. Let me start from where Dr. Ahmed stopped. Apart from that they take responsibility for their learning, they also, in the class, there is enough time to solve problems. There'll be enough time to solve. Instead of going outside the class to solve homeworks, that they don't, they solve it alone. They are in the class solving such problems, and they have first-hand feedback from the instructor and from their colleagues. Yes. Currently, I'm using Flip Classroom in my class, and I also use it in 1I2, partly in 1I2, but this semester I'm using it a lot. And like somebody commented, that commitment of students. In fact, when I first introduced them in the first class, the students said, no, they don't want to be having time to be watching videos before the class. They complained to the chairman. They even wrote to the academic affairs.
Okay.
This guy is doing something.
Are we going to continue with all these obstacles, or you will quit?
So I insisted that I'm going to use it.
Okay,
but I told them I'm not going to be, it's not going to be every class. We are going to be having 2 classes during the week. So we are going to be having it just one of the class.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Sayed, what do you think?
No, what I want to say, I think everybody knows it, but just to emphasize it, I mean, the flipped classroom, the other techniques you presented, these are, I mean, their advantage and their enhancing student learning is being even searched, and these are a research-based evidence of the, of the effectiveness of these techniques. And that's what I want to say to my colleagues. If we start listening to the student, just like Dr. Khalid al-Hushani, he wanted to be systematic. He wanted that I don't know, systematic means to tell everybody, because the student will come, look, Dr. Maan is not using it, how come you are doing this? I think we need to stop those things and we go for what will be benefit for our student. And I think this technique, we need more faculty members really to go and use these techniques, and I'm sure very soon you will see the word will spread, the student will be happy, and it will be.
Yes, thank you, Said. Yeah. Actually, guys, I really appreciate your feedback, and yes, you really emphasize the many advantages you got from the activities being done in class. As you mentioned, you have more time. In some topics you think that these are important topics. You need to do good problems, and sometimes the way homework problems are well designed, but the solutions is there. They will copy it. They will not get what is in that problem. But doing it within class with them, okay, let it be a common problem that they have a solution. So what? We are doing it together. So there is no copying business here. So it really gives you enough time and good environment to focus on important concepts. But let me tell you one thing amazing I found when I applied this technique. The students even liked the recording part for three main reasons. One, they said, now we can watch the class at our preferred time, not necessarily in the class time, which may not be our best time to learn. Two is they say now we can run it at our pace. Okay, if something is not, I did not get it, I can repeat. It's very clear to me, I can let it go fast. So, I really control learning to customize learning to my situation. In class, I have to go with your pace instructor. If some student is, if everybody is slow, I have to go with them. If everybody is fast, I have to go with them. Now I can do my own thing. And last thing, which is really, they love it a lot, and they can consider it as, a fortune, is that they have excellent material to prepare for the exam. What more than a full explanation of the class again that you have before the, this is why when I looked at, the pattern of watching those videos, and other than watching it for the class, it peaks before the exams. Everybody goes before the exam and, watch these videos again. So in conclusion is, there are a lot of obstacles, I'm going to come to them now, but really there are a lot of wins for students and for the faculty. For students, as I mentioned, they can learn at their preferred time, they can learn at their pace, they can repeat what is difficult, they can review it before the exam. But even for us faculty, it also offers a lot of advantages. One, now you select on what to cover in depth. Let us be clear, brothers. We know that not all the material requires a professor to explain. We know that some parts are really straightforward, and if they just hear about it, it's enough. Even physics 101 or 102, it's not everything of the same complexity and depth as something else. So this technique allows me to have a full coverage in the recording, but then in the class, I focus on things that need to be focused on. I don't give equal time for all the material. Two is I can do extra activities, as you said, I can go with higher order thinking questions. I can go with what if we do this, I can solve more problems. I can apply jigsaw technique. Three is I can give individual attention to students. Now you see, I'm not bothered with the time. This what do you call it, Afrit, this jinn that is always behind us, time, I have no time. If I answer more questions, I'll be behind in the material. If I go do more good exercises, I cannot cover the material. Now I really put off time from my shoulder. I don't care about time. The material is already covered. It's already recorded. Class is covered. Now I can in the class really feel more at peace, with myself and do what I think should be done. And I can give attention to individual students who have difficulty here or there. And by the way, now I can do a lot of assessment, of course, and activities. And I already mentioned one big challenge we have with homeworks. We would like students to do for homework typical problems because these are the problems they have to go through. But the problem is these are already solved. So they don't learn anything from them because they go and copy. Now with my course, I design the 3-4 important problems for that concept. And I do them again and again and again. And I'm not afraid that they are copied or because every time I'm doing it, students are learning. And one last thing, I lecture only once. Don't you feel bored that, we explain the same thing again and again and again? You have 3 sections of the same course and same second semester, you have the same course. Now I put off that from my shoulder. I did an excellent recording once and that's it. Now a class is done, doing something else. I'm doing discussion, and discussion is never repeated. It's not exactly the same as lecturing. So really, I see a lot of wins for students as well as for us faculty. But yes, there are a lot of obstacles, and let's go over them. There are a lot of challenges, obstacles, and concerns. I call them the cows. There are a lot of cows here. So let me list them. I know them. I don't need really to ask you about them. We know them. One is, okay, some of us may have a difficulty of recording and sharing tubes. I think that is no more an issue now after 1 year of online. We all know how easy it's to record and how easy it is to share videos. So I'm going to skip this obstacle. I think it's no more. But when I first introduced this technique to my colleagues here, this was a big concern. You know, people are not used how to record and share clips. Now, the big concern is, will all students listen to the recorded lecture before class? Okay, we're going to address this. 3 is, what do you do for those who come not prepared? Okay, and 4 is it not extra load to students? You know, you have to watch the class, watch the video and come to class again. And what do you do during the online session if you does all the lecturing before? Okay, so these are the 5 common challenges, okay, or cows I can think of and I have been through. Okay, do you see anything else I have not mentioned in this slide? Do you see any? I'm going to address these ones now, but do you see anything else as an obstacle for this technique? Okay, so I've covered them all. Great. Now let's see if we can really defend them all. This is the important point. Well, one, I think, anybody has a problem with one now? I don't think so. Anybody has a problem of recording and sharing? It's no more an issue. We know now it's really very easy. But still, I need to mention a few things, by the way. Make it in parts, you know, don't make the whole class in one recording, you know, cut the class into, you know, 3 parts, for example, 10 minutes each, okay? You cover a concept by a concept and so on. Try to make it so that, you know, it will be easier for students to plan to watch them. So at least he'll be encouraged. It's only 10 minutes. He can do this one in one sitting. If it's too long, he may not concentrate for the whole thing. Now, when I say keep it as, you know, like 3 parts of 10 minutes, you're telling me, okay, but this is only 30 minutes. The class is usually 50 minutes. Well, you really don't need to make 50 minutes recording for a 50-minute class. We don't lecture for 50 minutes in a 50-minute class. There is some overhead time that's gone somewhere, but there is also a lot of time spent in repeating something. You know, naturally, when you explain something, when the audience are present, you naturally, without even being aware about it, you go and repeat yourself for some important concepts. You should get the habit that when you do recording, never repeat anything, no matter how important as that, never repeat it, because if it is not clear to students, he can go ahead and repeat it himself. So you really cut some of the repetition when you do recording. And you know, you have no interruptions. Nobody's going to ask you questions when you record. You are not going to do any examples in the recording, by the way, because you'll keep the examples to the activity class. So actually, yes, a 50-minute class can be recorded in 30 minutes, and probably yes. Okay. We prefer that a faculty does his own recording so that students feel it is their own course, their own instructor, their own material. Okay. Yes, you can sometimes borrow some other, you know, YouTubes on the internet, but it will be more comfortable to students to see their instructor, or at least an instructor in a coordinated course, so that they feel this is a material that they are all responsible for. Okay. And by the way, this I was just, you know, these are how to share clips. I'm not going to go through this. Okay. So let me go to the second one, which is really a serious one, which is, will all students listen to it before class? My answer is no. No. But tell me, when you lecture in class, do all students listen and follow up in your class? We also know, no, we know that, you know, so what's our benchmark? Why do we, when it comes to this, we say, okay, but not 100% will watch. Okay, but even not 100% will be even following in your class. Okay, so the point here is, no technique will force students to listen to everything. Okay, so first of all, let's be realistic. What do you expect from a technique? Okay, but here you remember that since the students, you know, can, you know, listen at their, watch at their time, at their appropriate pace, you know, they will be more encouraged to do it. But you still have ways to encourage them to do it. Dr. Houshani just mentioned that they should all, for example, always expect a quick, very straightforward. It's not checking, it's just checking whether they have seen the video or not. That's it. Okay. So it's really straightforward. Everybody should get 10. If you watch the clip, he should get 10. Nobody who watched the clip should not get 10. So they should know that this is only to make sure that they have watched the clip. And I don't mind really taking 10 points of my course of 100 points, that everybody will get this 10. Okay, finally the average will be ahead by few points. Okay, so as I said, if you make them in short clips so that they are encouraged to watch, okay, make it available enough time before the class, you know, that 2-3 days, so that they really have time to see it. Okay, you can, in fact, in some techniques, there are a lot of applications that allows you to monitor the access in YouTube, in Blackboard, you can monitor the access. You can see who accessed the tubes, and they know that you can monitor the access. Okay, not necessarily by punishing them, but by, for example, thanking those who, you know, I really do this. Usually, before the class, one night before the class, I send a thank letter to those who watched already. I said, thank you, so and so and so and so. And I encourage others to do so before the class. Okay, so you can let them feel that you are monitoring, you know, the watching. Okay, so yes, not everybody will watch, but there are ways to really increase the percentage of those who watch. And honestly speaking, from my experience, when you do all of this, it will work, and they will come prepared. Now, another challenge is, and this is just showing you how you can you know, monitor the access in Blackboard. Okay, now, what do you do with students who still, some may not come, who are not prepared? What do you do with them? Okay, nothing. Let them just listen. Okay, you're going to go with your normal activities, solving problems. Okay, and you're not going to penalize everybody because few did not watch. So you should never consider repeating the class because there are few who did not watch it. And by the way, sometimes, and I find there are good, especially this may happen in the first time I do the exercise, that if you find a good percentage of students who did not do it, I say, okay, today's class, you know, is canceled. You know, we cannot cover it. You have not, okay, guys, so we have to do something else. Okay, so I go and I mean, the material is canceled. Okay, I'm going to explain some other material, not in that recording, because that has to be watched. Okay, I'm going to explain some other part of the course. Okay, and I go and explain some other part of the course if this is feasible to you. Okay, so let them take the lesson, you know, that if they don't listen, they really feel that they are sitting in the class and not involved, not being engaged and involved in the. But don't penalize everybody because of the lazy ones. Never repeat the whole material again, because that will defeat the purpose. And those who watch will not watch next time because they will say, he is going to repeat the material anyhow. Why should I do it twice? Okay. Now, obstacle 4 is very serious. Isn't not an extra load to students? Yes. And no. It depends on what do we do. We have to be fair. If we keep doing the things that we do for classical class, of course, it's an extra work. Okay, so what else we can do? Well, since we are going to do the activities together in class now, the whole model of assessment will be different. No more homeworks. Okay, so during the activities, I'm going to pose some questions during the activities that I will use for assessment. Brothers, you've seen the link. I have asked you to share a few answers with me now. This link is kept with me now. All your answers are stored. Now I can go back after the class and look to those who answered and those who did not answer, and those who answered seriously and those who just wrote their name. So, you know, I have a record now to assess students during the activities other than the homework. So no more homework. So I'll tell students, look, I'm fair with you. Now I'm not going to give you homework. So this time that you spend for homeworks, I would like you please to spend for watching the clip before class. So this way I let them feel that, you know, there is no extra load on your side. I am fair to you. I am fair to you. Okay? Now, any comments on this so far? Anybody disagree with this? Anybody disagree? Oh, cannot be. Nobody disagrees? Okay. So do you think this is okay? Yes, go ahead.
We don't disagree, but It seems you are defending one. Don't you think hybrid will be more optimal than just going?
Yes, it is hybrid because I'm saying don't flip all the classes.
Okay, yes, I thought.
Flip, yes, flip the 3, 4, 5 important topics.
Okay.
Of course. Where really you think that doing exercises and homeworks and having further discussion is important.
We always مع ان احنا we are fond of يعني benchmarking with others. I just want to give an information. Maybe most of you have heard it. يمكن 3-4 years ago when the president of Georgia Tech came here, he said by now 45% of our classes are on flipped classrooms. And before that, around 30 something MIT and so on and so forth. So I think we really need to catch up.
Yes, Dr. Ahmed Abdul Hafid, تفضل.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Maan. Before I actually got to learn what the formal name of this approach is, the flipped classroom, I tried it accidentally before in one of my classes and in one specific topic, just because of the pressed time. So I gave them a series of videos to watch that are very related to the course. They were not recorded by me, but they were readily available online, but I asked them to watch it. Then I came to class with extra discussions and brainstorming and problem solving and so on. I noticed that some of them did not watch it, that's given. Some of them did not participate in the discussion, that's also given. But I noticed that when students never got the chance to do things by hand, like practice solving problems by hand or practice answering the problems themselves by hand through a homework, their rate of retention was very low, and this showed up in the exams. So I shied away from this approach. I thought it's not really that successful. They have to practice by hand in order for the retention rate to be up. So that's my limited experience with this.
Yes, but I did not get your point. You cannot let them practice by hand in the activity class?
I tried to let them practice with me, but when you're talking about a classroom of like 50 minutes and you have maybe 20 students, the share of every student participating with you and doing some practice on his own is rather limited compared to the time that he spends.
If you consider, Dr. Ahmed, if you consider the jigsaw technique.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, so I'm just suggesting, maybe if you, for example, you because really we have to design for the activities in the class very well. Because if you don't really do worthwhile activities, there's no point to flip it. Maybe the best thing to do is to explain the architecture. If you don't have something solid and useful to do during the activities for the class, if you're saying that, you come to class and say, okay, guys, anything not clear? Everything is clear? Okay, go home. Then don't flip it. Yes, flipping means you have to prepare for what you do in the class. So I really recommend, for example, if you want to solve problems only, I would recommend doing the jigsaw. 20 students, prepare 5 problems, let each 4 work on it, give them 20 minutes to work on it, help them if they need the help, then bring them in other column groups, let them explain what they have learned, and then leave the last 5 minutes for general discussion. Maybe something worth to consider.
Thanks for pointing this out.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Is there a class size, Dr. Maan, for this? Suppose we have 50 students, 80, 70, 40, 65 students.
Yeah, of course. Then it will not be, I would say up to 30 would be reasonable. 5 groups of 6, 5 students will work on the problem. You have 6 problems. More than this would be difficult to manage. Okay. So there's the issue of extra load. Okay, it's really, you have to be fair. Now, what do you do during the class? Well, this is crucial because this is the challenge. It's not anything else. It's not whether students will watch or not. We can encourage them to watch, even if few left. Okay, so what? But the real challenge is on us is what do you do in this activity class? Students need to feel and really see very clearly that it was a very useful class. You know, we've done, you know, a lot of important extensions and advanced discussions and good problems. If you have nothing else to do in class, then you better not to flip it. Okay. Now, as I said, what do you do? Usually I take a few minutes at the beginning for direct review questions, as Dr. Houshani suggested. Okay, so just to make sure that they have watched it. Okay, and then I would ask them if I would receive their questions. Okay, was this anything not clear from the material? And then if there's something, I'll go and explain it, but make sure don't explain everything again, or just explain. And by the way, maybe it's worth engaging other students, say, okay, guys, who can explain to him? Because, you know, others have attended the lecture. So if somebody said, okay, the concept of modulation was not clear to you, how did you do this? I'd say, okay, guys, who can explain to him how I did this? So then probably you can invite other students to explain to them. You can design higher order thinking questions. You can, you know, consider a jigsaw during the class and so on. But really has to be, this has to be well planned. You have to plan well what you do in your activities. So I would say that yes, challenges are there, but there is nothing without a challenge. You know? Let me see, I can see some, okay, thank you. Okay, guys, now last thing, I'll spend the last 10 minutes or so in here. Does online classes offer new opportunities? Okay, let me tell you my experience, and time is limited. Let me tell you what is there in online classes that could be very engaging. One is you can conduct polls easily, as you've seen it. And that's very engaging, for example, as a starting point for discussing a concept. This is not something not very friendly in a face-to-face classroom. Actually, in my discussion with Dr. Amar Swalim in the pairing session, he was suggesting that this is something he will take. You know, he will let students still keep their mobiles and design polls so that he can do polls in the class. Okay, that's something really engaging. It's very easy to make groups. Okay, much easier than face-to-face. Breakout rooms, khalas, they are in their rooms. So any technique based on grouping is easier to do here. So it really adds something. Let me mention this one. I'm not sure if we really have utilized this one well. They have access to the internet during the class. Now, what does that mean? Well, maybe you can ask a question to go and search. You say, okay, go and search for this on the net now and let me know what you find. You may find some applications that will help you to explain some concepts. For example, yesterday, last class, I was explaining to students the difference between, speech frequencies and audible frequencies. And I'm explaining to them that, we have a limit on how many frequencies we can hear. There is a nice applications on some sites where they plan for you a variable frequency and let the detect when is the first time you hear the tone. And they tell you, okay, this is your audible range. Very interesting game and very useful for me to explain the concept. So since they are already on the net, I give them the say, okay, guys, go and tell me what is your audible range. Okay, just test yourself and come back to me with a number. So, you have the access to the internet. So you have many things you can do, you cannot do in face-to-face classes. Try to utilize this. Okay, maybe ask them to watch some animation. Maybe, as I said, do something on a site. So remember, you have an access to the internet. I think this is very, very useful. Sometimes even when you ask a question, I say, well, I don't know, let me check it for you guys. And I go to them together, I show them, okay, let me check for it. Why this, for example, he said, why there are smoke coming from the nuclear reactor? Why they are using this smoke, to produce motion? I said, okay, well, I did a question. I go to Google and in front of them and say, why do we have smoke out of nuclear reactors? And then we found that, okay, these are cool because of the cooling the reactors. So my point here, you have an access to the internet. That's a very useful resource. You can call them by name. All the names are there. And by the way, this is very friendly and very engaging when you call a student by name. Now, I call Dr. Ahmed by name. I call Dr. Adirnan by name. I know their names. They are in front of me. So that's very useful. One more thing you can do because you are online. You have a possibility for a student to share his screen and say, okay, let us see what you're doing, Ahmed. Okay, If you are giving an example, for example, or maybe on my screen, you know, in all of those applications, you can give access to others to access your screen. So maybe I'm showing some, you know, a block diagram and say, okay, Salim, please, I'm give you access to my screen. Go ahead and explain on my chart, on my slide, how the system works. Show me where is that part. Where is the part responsible for the heat? Okay, show with your mouse now, wherever you are in Abha or Riyadh, show me on your mouse, where is the part that makes the heat in that figure. So you see, they are online. That means a lot of things that you can, you know, engage because students are already online. And one thing is the link business I was doing with you now. You know, I do this with every class. I have a link and I don't put the questions on the link so that it will be easy for me. The questions are here in my slides, but students will go and submit the answers. Now, this is very useful to me and to them. Okay, let me quickly go with what I'm getting from this very simple exercise. Having a link that you guys go and submit your answers to some of the questions on the link. Okay, as I said, I make it a very generic form so that I use it every class. I don't need to change it at all. Okay, I design it usually very simple now just to put the final answer. I can share the students, the answers with the students. As you see, sometimes I shared your answers so everybody can see. Okay, you can share it directly from the application. You can download it to Excel. Okay, but for example, let me show you. This is a snapshot of what I'm getting on that link for my class. I asked them a question of how you are going to find the maximum value of a matrix, and they were doing a MATLAB exercise. Okay, so everybody submitted his answer. I have all their answers now. This is another question. I showed them the radiation pattern of antenna. I say, what does this plot represent? And everybody wrote what he thinks it represents. And now I have them. See? Now what happens is, that's very useful to the participants. And that's very useful to me also. For the participants, now everybody participates. If you want to take people to ask them to give you their individual answers, you cannot take more than 3-4 of them. You know, time does not allow. This way, everybody participates by submitting an answer. 2, it's not embarrassing because it's writing, not talking. Students sometimes don't like to talk or they are not really feel very comfortable to talk. He can have time to improve his language in the way he writes. You know, as you see, when you write, you have a time. Yeah, you consider what you're writing, which is not the case when you talk. Okay. He learned how to be brief and focused. You know, sometimes when you give a floor to somebody, he keeps talking and talking and talking. You never know when he will end. Okay, but now since he's writing, he's really brief and concise. Thank you, Dr. Ahmed, for letting us see you for a while. Very nice, motivating for me. And by the way, this way you keep the students' attention all the class, because in my case, they never know when the question will come. The question could come anytime in the class. Go to the link, guys, and submit the answer. So he is always there. He doesn't even dare to go to the toilets. Sometimes he said, sir, today this happens with me. I need to go to the toilet for the next few minutes, 3 minutes. Will there be questions? You know, so, you know, everybody really here is paying attention. And this is one of the things we're suffering a lot from online courses, you know, that students, we don't know, their names is there, but are they listening or not listening? I think this will make sure they are really listening and paying attention. Now, what is it for me? What I'm getting from this link as well? Well, I made sure also that everybody participates. Now, if I want to discuss any of the answers, I look at all of them and select the good answers that I would like to discuss. While if I pick 1 or 2 or 3 answers, I'm not necessarily getting the question or the answer I would like to get for discussion. But now with all the answers in front of me, I can pick the things I need, or I can emphasize on. Okay, and also I can go back home, read all of them, and then come next class and give a feedback. I have enough time to reflect on their answers and give a feedback next time. Not necessarily in the class. I don't have time to read all their answers in the class. And this is very important. Assessment. Now I have all the answers. Yani by the end of the course, I will have something like 15, 20 responses from every student. These will be my class assessment. Okay. I grade them, give them points for this, and so on. Sometimes I grade them whether it's right or wrong. Sometimes it's only for the attempt. It depends on what I'm testing. but it really gives you an archived record of the students throughout the year, throughout the semester for assessment. So as you see, you know, there is a lot in this technique, very simple one, just a link with the answer, nothing else. And students have the link now, you don't have to submit, give them the link every time. It is very useful to you, to students, and for the whole process. Anybody disagrees? You're very nice guys. Nobody disagrees with what I'm saying. Okay, if this is the case, I would like Mr. Sanallah then to post the last poll, please.
Okay, sure.
I'm testing now my learning outcome. Remember, I had a learning outcome. I'm now testing myself. Guys, it's anonymous. If you would like to say no, say no. Nobody knows who said no. I'll give 5 more seconds, 10 seconds. What is in the chat? Let me see. There's something in the chat. Thanks. Okay. I think we had 60% have already voted. So maybe you can stop here, Sanallah. Okay, my target was 60% of you. Now, can you share the results?
It's already up there.
Are they shared now?
Yes, that's it. They're shared.
Okay. Oh, very nice of you. So 92% think there is something to take. It's much more than what I expected. Thank you all for presenting, for being here today, and I really thank you for all the useful discussions we have. And floor is back to Dr. Said.
Well, thanks a lot, Dr. Maan. It's always very enjoyable, very useful, very fruitful. Thank you very much. And on behalf of the Deanship, I would like to thank everybody who did participate. And hopefully we see you very soon in another activity. Dr. Maan, Dr. Khalid, and Dr. Wasfi, I send you an email. Please respond to it. Right now after you leave from here, because it is a bit urgent. Well, thank you, Sanallah, as usual. With that,
thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Salam.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. في أمان الله everybody.
ما أدري أبو عبد الله إذا موجود ولا نبغى نسلم عليه. أبو عبد الله
موجود. أبو عبد الله أحمد فتحي ولا أبو عبد الله دكتور عمر؟
أبو عبد الله عمر. إذا
طيب ماشي يا سيدي. أنا بشوفك في المسجد عموما.
إن شاء الله أبو عبد الله.
ماشي. وحشتوني.